All right, hey everyone. How's everybody doing today? Today we're going to be going off. We're introducing the next tournament, still called the Frigate Fracas for now. Hey, Benjamin, thanks for the follow. I'm glad that the alerts actually work properly now. I can actually hear that, so I know to thank people. It wasn't doing that before. I may change the actual animation thing though. I'm not sure I like that one, but. I found as you may have noticed if you got here before the stream got going, I got a new theme in here that's a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's less out there. It's more subdued. You know, I like it. Got some background music going, which I'm sure you all recognize. It was in every friggin' video. But anyway, we're here today to discuss the rules for the next tournament. If I think of a better name for Frigate Fracas, it'll become that, but that's not important, really. Yep, I mean, Gaming 19, that's pretty tame for Brisbee. You're lucky that that's all you got. All right, since I am going to be putting this on YouTube for other people to watch later, so I'm going to turn on the chat box. Why? Oh, right, duh. It wouldn't let me move it because I had it locked. The monitor mash. I mean, that could actually work. How's the text size on that? Is that too small, too big? The monitor maelstrom. Yeah, they're not really monitors. Looks fine? Okay, good. Good. Still, you know, figuring out all these settings and everything in position, but anyway. So yeah, this is going to be run on the 2019 physics settings with automatic detection set to 1.0, meaning you do not need any detection. It has perfect automatic detection because ships getting their detection blown off, becoming blind and unable to fight is not particularly fun. A cruiser calamity. Just default tournament name 1. Yeah, there we go. We'll just go with default tournament name 1. So for those of you who don't know, the devs recently put onto the beta branch a change to the materials system, and by change I mean they removed ammunition and fuel as actual storable resources. Now instead, your engines and weapons convert materials into they use materials to function. And in order to convert those materials into what is effectively ammunition and fuel, you have fuel and ammo boxes, and they do that on a set number per second. It's like the actual way it's set up is it's on a per minute basis, and I think it's 50 materials per minute per block. So yeah, I don't know what tournament number that's going to be, but basically once that goes stable, that I do plan on using that because it's coming. We might as well learn how to use it, you know. No point in just going, oh, I don't like this, so let's not use it, because we're gonna have to eventually. Even though I've grown to not like it. Like, I don't see the point for the change. I don't really like the change, but you know, I'm not in control of that, so it's either live with it or stop playing the game, you know. So living with it is. So it's going to be a budget of 125,000 materials, but the one thing that's a little bit different from... Why is this... That bothers me that that's not in the right position. Anyway, any materials that you do not spend on building your ship will be added to your storage in the battle to use for conversion into fuel and ammo or used for steam engines. Yeah, we should eat our peas, basically. Yes, that is a good way to describe that. So if you spend 120,000 materials building your ship, that means you'll have 5,000 materials that for your ship to use either for steam power, fuel and fuel engines, or ammo in your guns. Which 5,000 isn't a lot. You probably want more than that. But that's just an example. And it will be using localized resources, so you have to make sure you include enough storage. Because there is no such thing as centralized resources anymore, apparently. Okay, this rule, a lot of people have been like, why is it here? It's kind of been a little bit controversial. People don't like it too much. But the point of it is to make vehicles be, like, each vehicle be roughly the same size, rather than having widely varied sizes of ships between, within a single entry. Because part of the reason why I'm running this tournament as I am instead of doing something else is because with all the armor changes, because that will be in this version as well, with where armor stacking has been nerfed and then like the AC of blocks has been raised and everything, I kind of want to get a feel for how that is going to impact things. And if we've got, like, if each fleet's got all these different variables for different sizes and different armaments and everything, I feel like it just makes it too difficult to make solid conclusions. So I kind of want everything to be somewhat the same size, you know. Plus, you know, historically, multiple vehicles has been better than one big vehicle. That may not be the case anymore, but I don't know. That's just, like, that one I'm not really open to changing. I want to leave that one the way it is. You can only have one entry per person. Now, you can do cooperative entries. Like, two people can build an entry together and then submit it together, but you can only have one per person. So, like, you can't build one with somebody else and then submit another one that's only by you, you know? Now, the map thing, that could be changing. I'm trying to figure out how to use the map editor, because it would be a lot easier if we just had a lake. You know, just a lake surrounded by land of the size for the battle, roughly, so that we don't have to deal with DQ time. That would make things a lot easier and just better, really. Like, if a ship runs away too much, then it's going to run aground, and then it's, you know, easy pickings if it's not moving. So, this part might be getting updated or changed here within the next few days, but, you know, we'll see how things go with that, because I've not been having much success with the editor. It's kind of a pain. Alright, so regular, huge, and steam propellers are the only allowed form of locomotion. That means you cannot use any other method to move your ship around. You can't use jets, you can't use custom jets, can't make a wonky recoil-based propulsion system. Your ship needs to move around on regular, huge, or steam propellers, or large propellers, whatever they're called. You know what I mean. They have to be placed facing rearward and unangled. You can't use the settings within them to change their angle to help with turning or whatnot. And differential thrust to assist with turning is banned under any circumstance. We had a question last night where one person had asked, like, you know, if they lose some props, are they allowed to then use differential thrust to compensate for the fact that they have uneven propulsion on either side? No. Differential thrust is just flat out banned. Can't use it. Alright. Now, small rudders are the only allowed method of turning the ship. And the reason that this is a bit on the complicated side is we wanted to allow a number of rudders to be sufficient for redundancy so that ships don't just, you know, lose the ability to turn really easily. But to have like 9 rudders means the ships are going to be able to turn on a friggin' dime, which makes crams basically a useless weapon. So you can have 9 rudders, but they have to be reduced to 0.33 strength in order to make it basically so that you have 3 rudders. So you have 9 for redundancy, but 3 effective for turning strength. I can, real quick, just to clarify what exactly I mean. Just jump into the designer. So I was in the world editor there. Come on, designer. There we go. When you go into the rudder, under the rudder response thing, power scale, this is what must be set to 0.33, and you have to tick that box, because that makes it, without this, it's instantaneous. With this, there's actual rudder shift, even though because it's such a small amount, the rudder shift is basically instant anyway, but just you know, do it. Make sure you do that for all your rudders. Not doing that will get your entry rejected. A ship may not exceed 25 meters per second in speed. This includes when you're turning and maneuvering or anything. You can never, ever go more than 25 meters per second. 25.1, if you know, on the, oh, it's not showing it because I'm not on a ship, where it says speed, you know, 1 meters per second, 2 meters per second, whatever, if it ever says anything more than 25, even 25.1, even though I don't think it displays tenths, it only displays full meter per seconds, that will not be allowed. Now, one thing that was brought up is, I had this set up to be for penalty time, but one thing that was brought up is smaller ships can get tossed around by explosions, and then that being tossed around can make them go faster than 25 meters per second and get them DQ time, so they'll basically be penalized for getting hit, which isn't very fair. So I'm probably just gonna not include that at all, period. Just get rid of it. And I'll just make sure during the inspection process that the ship doesn't exceed 25 meters per second while, you know, under normal operations and fighting an enemy. And as usual, like, your ships don't have to be realistic, but they need to have some sort of aesthetics. Don't just submit a box with some guns poking out of it. I'm not going to accept that. Plus, approval score is going to be a... it's going to be a third of your score, basically, or maybe even half, depending on how... I may end up changing that, too. But approval score is going to be a big part of your score. So if your ship looks ugly and people don't like it, they're going to vote it. They're not going to vote for it, and then you're going to lose points. So spend some time on aesthetics. Spending time on aesthetics is probably a good idea. Excessive clipping. I mean, this is pretty standard. It's kind of wordy, but it basically means... what it boils down to is, I understand that gun barrels and whatnot, when they elevate or depress to aim at enemies, it's basically impossible to build a gun that is armored decently and not have them clip when elevating or depressing. Like, you can't avoid, like, there's just no way to prevent that. The game just doesn't have the mechanics for it. So elevation and depression is going to be fine in most cases, unless you're, like, obviously abusing it, like building a, like, one of my tactical hats, like I used to do, and then building that in such a way that the barrels, like, clip up through it to fire. That would not be cool. But if they're clipping through the actual armor, the armor around them, protecting them, that's fine. However, lateral movement is going, like, there's going to be some leeway for that, but if it's, like, more than a block or two, it's going to get rejected, because that's going to be excessive. I don't want something like what was happening with the Polaris, where it had its guns buried way back in the armor, and then the guns were, like, 4 or 5 meters away from the hole that they were actually existing in. Like, that's too much. I mean, not that strategy will really work as well now, since mortars are just flat out banned in this tournament, but we'll get to that later. You remember the hat? Yeah, and then other than that, just don't put 2 blocks in the same area, and you're pretty much fine. Ships being relatively symmetrical on the port starboard axis. So you can make a ship that has all of its weapons basically on the front. You don't need to be symmetrical on the rear the front rear axis necessarily, but it needs to, at least on the port starboard, be relatively symmetrical. And like it says, relatively symmetrical means that it has the same amount of things on each side, but they don't necessarily need to be totally mirrored. You know, so you can have like turrets in an echelon formation, or, you know, have one turret on the port side in the rear and then another turret in the front forward on the left, you know, type of thing, and that's fine. But if you've got one gun on the left and one gun, then there needs to be one gun on the right, and same with the armor and whatnot. Basically, like, you can make a forward broadsider, but you cannot set your ship up to intentionally spin your propulsion in reversed. And you must be capable of demonstrable forward movement, meaning that you need to be able to move forward through your recoil and actually be able to move in and engage the enemy and not just sit there. This is a ship tournament, not a fortress tournament. Now, this one's a new one. I've not really used a freeboard rule before. Minimum freeboard of 3 meters. And we're going to be measuring this in 2 different ways. Cat is going crazy. Cat's got the zoomies. A panther. Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be measured in 2 ways. One is going to be from while stationary, I'm going to put the build cursor. This is going to be kind of a bad example, but like, the lowest point of the deck on this ship is right here, right? So I will put my cursor right here above that point in the deck, come out to the end of the ship, go down 3 meters, and if this box touches any water whatsoever in this position, you do not have 3 meters of freeboard, and then your ship will be rejected. For you can have propulsion cut out completely. Yes, it just can't spin backwards. And yes, Gaming 19. This one, I reworded that rule so that they cannot be configured to intentionally spin their propulsion rather than being required to not do it, in case the AI derps out, then so people don't get disqualified because the game decided to be stupid. I was not happy with how that happened in Season 5 of the Battleship Brawl, but, you know, the rules were the rules. But if that were to happen in this tournament, you're not going to get disqualified because the AI decided that it was just going to do something that it wasn't supposed to. Anyway, so for the freeboard thing, I'm going to find the lowest point in your deck, put my cursor on top of it, and go down 3 meters while it's stationary. While the ship is in motion, I'm going to find the center of mass, which is basically between these 2 blocks right here, put it on the height of the deck at that point, move it down 3 meters, and then have your ship maneuver around. And if this, while maneuvering, well, okay, it's not going to be quite the same, but while maneuvering, you're going to have to make sure that the 3 meters of freeboard is maintained. Like, one person submitted an entry already, and when their ship turned, it lists heavily to one side to the point that the deck almost touches the water, and that's not going to be allowed. Now, like, if because of propulsion your bow rises up or sinks down and you lose freeboard there, that's fine, but you always, except in the case of battle damage, you always have to maintain 3 meters of freeboard at the center of mass. So you have to manage your listing quite a bit. If the ship lists too much, I mean, if it starts doing that because it's damaged, that's a completely different story. But you know, during normal undamaged operation, the center of mass needs to always maintain 3 meters of freeboard. That's entirely possible for him. Entirely possible. And yeah, the ship's deck may never touch the water during normal undamaged operation. If I see even a single pixel of water coming up through the deck, or you have 1 pixel less than 3 meters of freeboard, your ship will be rejected. This was added in because duct blocks are kind of insane. They're in the air tab, if I remember right. Yeah, so, like, a heavy armor duct has the armor class of, you know, heavy armor, but 66,150 HP on this 7x7. Now, that's less than if you had made a 7x7 brick of heavy armor using 4 and 3 meter beams, but it's more than doing it with 7 just single heavy armor blocks. And this would make a Cram is actually going to have a very hard time punching through this. I mean, even alloy and metal, just because of how much HP they have, are going to be very difficult to punch through. So, yeah, you can't use, like, these ducts, their purpose is to allow you to armor the propulsion without, you know, blocking their ability to function properly. So, that's what you got to use them for. You can't sit here and take one of these things and strap it to the side of your ship for armor. That will not be allowed. Or, you know, use it for internal compartmentalization, though that would be really expensive, because they're not cheap, but they're just, yeah, they can't be used for armor, because that'd be a little ridiculous. Those things are really hard to actually penetrate. Okay, so for the general ban list, can't use Lua of any type because it's not fair to people who don't know how to program to allow people that do to get better functioning ships because of a skill they have that doesn't belong to the game. Yes, Greyfell mentioned the Greats. Owelner did as well. They were the ones who discovered the ducts thing and brought it to my attention. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's probably should be restricted. You cannot use the planar shields that, yes, Brisby, yes. More like Greats. Get him, Faram. So the planar shields you can't use. The ones that just bounce shells off, can't use those. You can use ring shields, but as we have discovered on some of my other streams, they make actually pretty powerful weapons if you can get it to work right. Don't do that. Not for this tournament. Not allowed for this tournament. EMP is banned, hydrofoils, lasers including lambs, particle cannons, docking stations. I may allow sub-vehicle spawners, it turns out, but for the moment they're on the ban list. I mean, if you make a ring shield and it just happens to hit the enemy, that's, you know, I'm not going to dock you for that. But if you set something up that was clearly intentionally built to cause damage to the enemy, that's not going to be allowed. Sub-vehicle spawners might be re-allowed. I kind of banned those just in habit because I'm used to banning them. But for this tournament, they might be okay because it doesn't really hurt anything to have them. So I think I'm just gonna allow them. Screw it. It should be fine. Repair tentacles and repair bots are banned, so no repairs at all for this tournament. Now we get into the armament The only allowed weapons are cram cannons, advanced cannons, simple weapons that use customized shells, and missiles. That's it. If it's not one of those things, you can't use it. Yes, armament. And among those 4 weapon types, we're going to consider the custom shell simple weapons APS for this tournament, basically. So among those 3 weapon types, you have to use at least 2. So you have to use crams and APS, or APS and missiles, missile and crams. Like, you have to use one of those combinations amongst your entry. Now, each ship does not need to have one of each. You can have a ship that does just APS and then another ship that does just crams, and that counts. But, and they have to have a firepower of at least 15 amongst all available launchers and firing pieces to count for this. Which means, unfortunately, building a decoy system on your ship to protect against missiles does not count, because they have very... Well, I mean, I suppose if you build enough of them, you could get that, but they generally only have, like, less than 1 firepower, so it's not really going to help you a whole lot. That'll be expensive. You may as well just build an actual gun, or actual missiles. Or, you know, build, like, 13 firepower worth of missiles and then 2 firepower worth of decoys. That could, you know, that would count. As mentioned before, mortars are banned. You have to set it to use the only low arcs in the cram settings of the firing piece UI. So, no mortars, no shenanigans with that. We're just gonna go, you know, bare bones standard for that for crams. And again, EMP is banned. Yes, I did include it twice, because I wanted to make sure that people understood that, because sometimes people don't see these sorts of things, but they will see it in the armament rules, or vice versa, you know. It's, people miss things frequently. It happens. And as usual for APS, graviton rams are banned because they're silly. They're really silly. I don't know if they're still as silly as they used to be, but they definitely were. And again, EMP. Do they not do anything anymore? Still, I don't want to see them. Just screw it. This rule might seem a little bit silly because max shell length 8 meters. It's like, well, that's the biggest auto loop there is, right? Well, if that's what you believe, I would direct you to check out the Tank Wars tournament over in the Arena Discord, because there are some direct input fed weapons there that have friggin' telephone pole shells much longer than 8 meters that do stupid amounts of damage. I mean, yeah, it takes forever for them to reload, but, you know, when you're firing 16-meter shells 4 times, or 3 times before you have to, 3 or 4 times before you have to start reloading, and yeah, it gets kind of silly. So even if you're using direct input fed weapons that can technically accept longer than 8-meter shells, you can't do that. 8-meter length maximum, that's it. 8,001 millimeters or long is banned. For missiles, we ban large missiles not because there's like really that they're too OP or anything. Like, they're really expensive, both in ammo cost and material cost to build them. But with the size of ships that we're building, it would just kind of look silly to have these giant missiles flying out of them. I mean, crams look pretty silly too, but I don't think it's quite as bad. I mean, I'm sure it's viable, PS. Like, it'll probably function. But if your enemy manages to survive the alpha, you're probably going to lose. So it's kind, to me, it seems kind of risky, especially in a multiple entry thing. Because like, if all of your guns blast a single target on on an entry and an enemy that has 3 ships, like, you're probably kind of screwed. But yeah, so, and of course EMP is banned in missiles as well. So okay. All right. Well, have fun with that, PS. I don't think it's the best option, but I could be wrong. I haven't actually really looked into it. Tomorrow's stream is going to be, I'm going to be going into doing an APS build session, basically testing out guns and building things, and yeah. Yeah, and Farama's correct. I'll turn on the 2v1. If you kill the one thing, you instantly win. That is true. But it'll also be a lot harder to kill one ship that is 100, that's like 100,000 materials than, two ships that are 50 or whatever, Ah. Okay. I mean, that's true. But if your one remaining ship can make up for that within... I mean, you could end up... I mean, that is possible, but you're also putting your eggs in one basket there. So if your one ship gets killed, you lose. So, I mean, it has its drawbacks. Plus, that's expensive. So, I mean, I'm gonna if like I've discovered during the APS build session tomorrow that direct fed things are still ridiculous or something, then I might have to do something about it. But for now, I'm gonna leave them. Ships lose if they are killed. Yep, this is true. This is very true. So the tournament itself is going to be a bracketed elimination tournament. Whether it's going to be a single or a double elimination tournament is going to depend on the number of entries that get into it. Like, if we end up with like friggin' 60-something entries or something like we did in some of the other tournaments, it's probably going to be single elimination. But if it's in like the 20-30s, then I might do double. We'll see. Each match is going to be 3 rounds of 5 minutes. I'm actually getting rid of that because, yeah, that's... Yeah. I agreed with somebody who pointed out that thing I just deleted is not a good thing, so yeah. Messes up my formatting. Anyway, I guess I should have gone through this a little bit before the stream, but whatever. We'll do it live, right? So 3 rounds of 5 minutes, or until a side is, destroyed. However, one thing that's going to be particularly important is there's no being saved by the bell. If a despawn timer starts, it will be allowed to play out before the round is considered over. So that means either the despawn timer has to go away, or if it hits 0 and the ship starts despawning, then that ship is destroyed. Yes. So there is no being saved by the bell. If your ship is dying, it needs to either recover from that dying state or die, and then the round will end. And then total score is going to be the sum of your combat score and your approval score. However, these things are kind of... There's been a lot of discussion about the scoring system on the Discord today, so I may be changing a lot of this stuff around. I did intend for that to be a thing, but I should probably specify that in the rules, Brisby. That is a good point. Like, yeah, if a ship is looking like it could die, then it's going to be allowed, like, is it going to keep going or is it going to sink and despawn? So I'm not going to go into the formulas of this because I'm getting a feeling that they're probably going to change quite a bit from the discussions that have been happening on the Discord, because it's been pointed out that despawning a ship gives you a pretty huge bonus of, 55% of the enemy's HP, which, that's pretty nasty. But the intent of the scoring system, is to make the approval score, which this is probably going to stay pretty much the same, except maybe the scaling number here on the end might change. Basically, you're going to get points based on the percentage of the votes that you receive in a battle. Each ship is going to be directly compared to one another. And you're going to be voting for which ship you think is more deserving of moving on to the next round. And you can base that upon basically whatever criteria you want. Just, how it looks, how it performs, the engineering, if you think it's cool, if you thought it was fun to watch and the other one was boring, you can, that's for you to decide. So whichever ship you approve of more, you vote for that one, and then it gets points based on the percentage of the votes it receives. That number of points is intended to be balanced such that it is equal to the number of points that you get from the actual combat, basically. So that they're evenly weighted. One thing that Nutterchap had suggested would be to just make the combat score equal to your HP remaining, right? And then reduce the despawn threshold to 50% instead of 55%. And then have the approval score be a maximum of 50 points, which would basically just turn this into dividing it by half instead of a third. Well, it's multiplied by 1/3 in this case, but you know what I mean. I like the concept. I'm just not sure about the actual numbers in those. So we're gonna have to go over that, and I'll have to think about exactly how I want to scale that. Because I do want it to be that if you get absolutely trashed in the combat, like, if you get despawned in all 3 rounds completely and your combat score is 0, you should have no chance of winning through the approval vote. Like, at best, you should be able to tie, but then in a tie, the victor is going to be the one who actually won the fight. So if they're equal points, if you get 0 combat and then 100% of the votes, you would at best tie your enemy, and then you lose because the tie goes to the person who won the actual fight. So yeah, submission guidelines. Right now the deadline is 9 p.m. Pacific time, which is also Pacific time is the same as GMT -8 for those of you across the pond. Yeah, and you must, since this is a multiple ship entry, I want the blueprints of all ships, or just on the other side of the continent, yeah, I suppose. But they need to be in a folder. I need the blueprints of all ships in a folder. Even if you end up using a sub-vehicle spawner to spawn your secondary ships, I still need the blueprints of those ships that will be spawned from the spawner, because I need to be able to check them. So they need to be in a folder, preferably zipped, and the folder must follow the naming convention of whatever you're naming your entry by the name that you use on Discord on my server. That way, if I need to find somebody, I don't have to sit here and guess and be like, okay, well, this person, you know. Well, actually, not even on my server. Whatever your Discord name is displayed when you PM me, that's what needs to be on the entry. That way, when I go through looking through my PMs for people, I'm not trying to figure out who is who. If it doesn't match, then I'm going to reject you. And as usual, you can submit up to 3 times. If you get it correct on the first one and your entry is accepted on your first try, you can then update it and make changes up to 2 more times. However, if you say you get one, you submit something once and it gets approved, then you submit something a second time and it gets rejected, the most recently approved version will be the version that I use in the tournament. And if you don't get anything approved in 3 tries, then, well, sorry, better luck next time. Oh, yeah, I haven't actually put the gatekeeper in the rules, have I? Yeah, so the way it was in here, but then I removed it and edited it, and I completely forgot to add that in. So Nutter Trap is going to be building a gatekeeper entry, and as part of the inspection process, I'll be putting your ship in a battle under the exact same conditions as a regular battle against the gatekeeper. You must defeat the gatekeeper in order to be accepted into the tournament. And then the score that you get when fighting the gatekeeper excuse me, will be used to determine your seed in the tournament. If you fail to if you do not defeat the gatekeeper, and by defeat I mean, you know, your average score is better than his average combat score, then you'll just be flat out rejected, because there needs to be a minimum level of quality in the ships to keep the matches interesting, because it's not fun watching a newer builder just get absolutely curb stomped and not even really be able to fight back effectively. That's just, I mean, I'm not trying to be elitist or anything, but yeah, it's just, it doesn't make for good entertainment. So yeah. Hey, Spongy Boy, I will need to write in the gatekeeper thing. Nutterchap is deliberately making it a mediocre ship. He's deliberately making bad design decisions to make sure it's not a particularly good vessel. Kind of like what he did with the Gatekeeper for Battleship Brawl Season 5. It's intended to be a meh ship that if you can't beat, your ship would probably not be fun to watch anyway, so... It's not going to be super powerful, but we are still going to keep it we're going to keep the Gatekeeper blueprint private, a secret until after the tournament starts, because we don't want people building to counter the Gatekeeper. Because then you're going to go into the thing specifically built to beat the Gatekeeper, and then get stomped by somebody who just built a good ship rather than something that counters the Gatekeeper. So that is going to be kept private until after that, the blueprint itself. Well, Kettlebore, I'm really bad at aesthetics too. And the Tillman was not a pretty ship in Battleship Brawl Season 5. It was very bare bones, pretty much, as far as aesthetics went. And yet, it did really well in the approval votes because it just blew the shit out of things, and people liked watching it. Yeah, what Brisby said. It's not necessary, the replicas actually tended to not do that great in their approval votes in Battleship Brawl Season 5. Yeah, the sheep may have gotten PS all of his votes, yes. The battle sheep was pretty cool. Hey, Wellner, how's it going? Yeah, if you make a good gimmick and people don't get salty over it, that is true. It's a little... Yeah, it's a little bit of... You have to pander to the masses in the right way. Yeah, but that's also why it's used as more of a tiebreaker, or to give a ship that barely lost but is, you know, a more fun ship to watch, a chance to take the victory anyway. It's like there's no real way to be sure. What I really hope people didn't vote for the Tillman just because I was the tournament host. Like, don't do that, please. Like, if you want to like support me in the time that I spend doing this thing, like follow me on Twitch, subscribe to me on YouTube, that kind of thing, don't vote for my ships in the tournament. Like, unless you just really think that, you know, that my ship is the one that should move on. You know, don't do it because I'm the tournament host, please. I don't want that. It did bring the boom. Yeah, Tillman was it had a lot of firepower, but it was also made of paper for the most part, which is kind of a departure from my normal build way, or my normal building doctrine. I usually tend to go more on the armor side and less on the gun side, but I decided to give it a shot, and hey, it worked pretty well. Yeah, pretty much. And I named it the Son of Tillman because it wasn't quite big enough to be a full Tillman. I ended up having to make it smaller and have fewer guns than an actual Tillman would have had, which is why it became Son of Tillman. But yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've got going on with the tournament so far. You know, I am going to be streaming the episodes on Twitch. But they will also be posted to YouTube as usual. One thing that's important to know about that, though, is Twitch has an exclusivity thing for streamers. If you stream, I've been lucky enough to already make affiliate, which is really nice. And as an affiliate, I have to abide by that exclusivity agreement, which means I cannot post any content that I stream to Twitch until 24 hours after that content was streamed. So videos for a tournament that get, you know, the tournament videos when they get streamed, they won't be up until the next day rather than this. They won't be, you know, it won't be same day is what I'm trying to say. If I stream something on Monday, it'll be up on Tuesday on YouTube. You know, that's just how it's going to have to be, unfortunately. But on the bright side, because I'm doing the streaming thing, and because I really enjoy this, I really enjoy hanging out with you guys and talking while I'm playing games and stuff. I think it's pretty fun and just enjoyable. Whoops. Because of that, like, I'm probably going to end up running more than one battle in a day. So, you know. Okay, is the freeboard? Okay. I can help with that. Let's, and that was, I was actually going to say, you know, if there was anything that you wanted to, like, you didn't understand, you wanted some clarification, now would be the time to ask about it. Right? Hopefully we can finish this tournament in less than 8 months. Yeah, my tournaments do tend to run a bit long. Uh, why is this suddenly doing this? It wasn't doing this before. Anyway. Well, that was interesting. What the heck is going on? What the... What the f... Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to actually demonstrate things with the game acting like this. Yeah, apparently time to restart from the depths. Like, what the hell was that? And see, the crazy thing... Yeah, and like, I don't even have... Like, I have 0 mods installed right now. Like, I haven't installed the tournament mod. I have nothing. The game is completely vanilla. Oh, and now, because From the Depths takes up so much processor power when starting up, Streamlabs OBS is going, oh, you have dropped frames. I'm like, yeah, this isn't surprising. But, I'm gonna go ahead. Well, actually, no, I'm not. That would be bad. Since these are not going to be the final versions of the Gatekeeper, these were just the first. Yes, it's Gate and Keeper. These were just the first like drafts, and they're going to be changed a bit. I'll use these as an example. Oh well, it didn't put me on the boat. Okay. So for the stationary freeboard, I'm going to just find the lowest point on the deck of your ship, which on this one it's all the same, like the deck is all one level, and then I'm going to go down 3 meters. Okay, stop moving, thank you. And then I'm going to go down 3 meters. If this blocks touches water at all, which it might touch it a little bit here because of the rocking, because it was moving. It doesn't actually look like it. If any part of this block touches the water, then you will be rejected. You need to have 3 meters of hull outside of the water. And yes, you can do it turtle-backed like this and whatnot, and that's fine. See, like if this is where the 3 meter mark was, that wouldn't be allowed, but 3 meters is up here. And then I'm going to find the center of mass, which, on this ship is right here. I'm going to come out to on the outside of the ship, put it on top of the deck where the deck is at the center of mass, and then go 3 meters down again. And then while your ship is moving around, I will watch this and make sure that it doesn't touch the water. See, it just touched the water, so this actually wouldn't necessarily... Well, it's moving in reverse right now because the AI is trying to go over there. So center of mass is like right here. 1, 2, 3. Well, hold on. 1, 2, 3. And see, now it's not actually doing it when it's maneuvering in ways that it's supposed to. See, this brick is not touching the water at all at any point. If the ship turns too much while it's moving and you touch the water, it will be rejected. And part of the reason why we're doing 2 separate measurements like this is so that people can't do what Nutterchap described as Volkswagen engineering, meaning that it works fine when it's testing, but then fails in the combat. So that we don't want people to do something like have their have an ACB set up to reduce their air pumps so that their ship sinks down into the water when the combat's going on. So I'm going to, I'm going to watch this. And so the rule is that you always have to maintain 3 meters of freeboard at the center of mass. So if you set it up so that when an enemy is detected to lower your ship down so that you have less freeboard, that's not going to work. Well, I'm going to check it with an opponent. Like, I'll spawn in a Marauder like this and be like, okay, do you still maintain your freeboard? You do? Okay, you're good. Well, yeah, this is for, undamaged normal operation. If you get damage and your ship starts sinking, I'm not going to suddenly disqualify you. That would be kind of silly. But see, the ship is maneuvering while fighting an enemy and everything, and the center of mass is staying dry. Or 3 meters of freeboard is being maintained at the center of mass the whole time. Yeah, there wasn't any freeboard rules in Battleship Brawl Season 5, so... I may stream some of the inspections, but I will probably stream the Gatekeeper fights. I may stream those, but the actual inspections, I don't know how much of those I'll actually stream. It's not just for show, it's because what you can do is you could build this ship so that the water level is basically right here, and then weapons are going to have a hard time actually hitting your ship because they have to aim under the water to hit you, which means the shells will bounce off the surface of the water and miss. So the freeboard is to make sure that the guns have something to hit. If people still want to help me with inspections, then yes, they can be done by multiple people. I can have other people. I will still be the final say on whether something gets approved or not. But if people still want to help me with those inspections and kind of filter things for me so I have fewer things to look at, I will be more than glad to accept volunteers. So yeah, if people want to help with that, that's fine. I'm not going to say no to help on there. But yeah, the Polaris has very little freeboard, almost zero. And it's really difficult to hit it because of that, because the shells tend to bounce off the water. And then it's super, super sturdy and has really good repairs, so... yeah. So the reason for the freeboard is to make sure that weapons always have something to hit. At least until your ship starts taking damage, and... yeah. Indeed. Indeed you did, Welner. Tillman had a pretty good amount of freeboard, too. I don't know if it was 3 meters, but it had a decent amount of freeboard. It wasn't sitting on top, sitting at the surface. Yeah. If you manage to... well, so if you're... the measurement for freeboard is going to be taken at the lowest point of the deck. So you can't sit there and go like this and build a deck up here and build, a deck up here and be like, oh, well, this is my deck, so I've got plenty of freeboard. That's not gonna fly. Another thing that you need to watch out for is the deck. None of the deck can ever come in contact with the water. Yes, agreed, Welner. But if you have, like, let's just say, let's remove these real quick. if you had, you know, slopes going down like this. Whoops. And then another, so that now this is the lowest point on your deck. So I'm going to measure from here and go down 3 meters, which means this ship wouldn't qualify. So it is the lowest point of your deck that is important for the stationary measurement. And if you can't have any water on your deck. If your deck becomes awash even by a single pixel of water during undamaged operation, it'll be rejected. Oh, and I just saw this thing hit 26 meters per second for a second there, so that would get it rejected. Yep, see, there it is again. Like I said, this is the very, very first draft of a Gatekeeper ship that Nutterchap sent me, so it's far from finalized. Yeah, well, I mean, it might make ships look a little odd, but everybody's going to be looking odd evenly, so it shouldn't have much of an effect on the actual votes. Oh, I just noticed... Hold on a second. I just noticed the chat box is like... Here, let's just make it smaller. A little bit smaller than that. So that it's, I wish I didn't, it doesn't let me resize it on just one axis. It always has to do both. Well, and now you can't read anything because the text is too small. Okay, well, screw it then, I guess. Anyway, so are there any other questions, concerns, limit? I have no idea what you're saying there, PS. Limit capture size? What do you... Oh, I could, yeah, I suppose, make the, make the chat like this, and then make the actual capture, whoops, not like that, more like that. But I feel like I would need some kind of overlay, because it looks weird to just have that blackness. Not that? Okay, I'm not sure what you mean. Oh yeah, that's true. I could just make this bigger like that and then just put part of the box off the screen so you can't see as many messages. That makes complete sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that. I don't think out the box very well, apparently. But yeah, that makes perfect sense right there. Though, for the tournament, I'm not going to be able to put them there because the upper right corner is where some stuff is. I'll have to, do it down at the bottom. Which would mean that would be, in order to do something similar, I'd be cutting off new messages. So, that won't work there. But then again, there will be a lot more space during the tournaments, so I can just, like during the matches, so I can easily just do like that, and it'll be fine. Just size it so that it's not covering the UI in the upper right-hand corner. But for now, we'll stick it in the upper right. I'm also glad that changing my my scene here didn't break the stream like it did the other day. But yeah, I like this this theme. It's not as in your face as the other one I was using. And it's got transitions, which are cool. Oh, apparently if I change scene though, it deletes the chat box. I may put, like, one thing I could possibly do is, if people want things to test against, is use early versions of the Gatekeeper, like the one that I was demonstrating with. I could post those to give people something to test against. Just keep in mind that these things are going to be, they're going to be changed a lot, probably, before they're finalized. This is literally the very first version of the Gatekeeper that Nutterchap sent me, and like, it's got some issues. Like, I think he fused one of the guns, but forgot to put fuses on every other gun, or maybe he just didn't put any fuses on it. It looks like he didn't put any fuses on it anywhere at all, which was not intended. So, you know. But yeah, this is sort of a... What happened to... How did it get damaged? Oh, because I did have the Marauder out, right? So yeah, this is a good test case of like the size and armoring you might be able to come up against, and it would probably be a pretty decent test bed to fire some weapons at and see how things go. But I probably won't give you anything beyond, like, unless there's like 16 iterations, this is probably the only iteration that I'll make public. We'll see exactly what happens. Okay. So I just got a phone call, but it went to voicemail. I'll deal with it later. So yeah, are there any other questions, comments, concerns about the rules? Maybe some more name suggestions? You know, basically open forum at this point. We've gone through everything I wanted to go through. So yeah. In case you didn't notice, Wednesday the stream's going to be a little late, and it's probably going to be short. Just going to do some Fall Guys, because I have a doctor's appointment in the afternoon, so... And then tomorrow I'm planning on building some APS, just to see if I can figure out good ways to build those. Because I feel like I've gotten pretty decent at building crams at this point, but I still barely know how APS function, so... I believe the current default is the 2014 physics settings. So, in order to change that, you come in here into the options, go to config, and then it's Neater settings 2019. And then we're going to have automatic detection on 1. That's the only difference from the default Neater setting, 2019 Neater settings. So yeah, that does make a difference. Like, Nutterchap built this ship on 2019 settings, but then I tested it on 2014, and just with 2014 settings, it doesn't work quite right. Uh-oh, it's probably going to continue doing that.
Listening.
Just because it's already started. So we'll just turn that off and disable movement, let it come back down. And then it'll be fine again. So yeah, the wheelies of doom. Yeah, physics. Yeah, so make sure you're on the 2019 settings, because if you build it in 2014, it may not function properly on 2019. Anything else? Anything at all? If not, we could always kind of figure this out. Because Delta Force was... I kind of agree with the idea that despawning an enemy gives you a huge amount of bonus points, and I think you should get some bonus for killing an enemy. Because managing to completely despawn an enemy in 5 minutes is not the easiest thing to do. It's far from impossible, but it's not the easiest thing to do with a limited budget and everything. So I think that there should be some bonus, but I'm not entirely sure exactly where it should go. As long as it's an aesthetic thing, that should be fine. But if the clipping is causing a substantial important component to get extra armor, then no, it won't be. Are you talking about having the cat ears raise and lower based on health, Brisby? Is that what you mean? Oh my god. Like as the ship gets more damaged, the cat ears just tuck back further and further. That does sound exactly like something you would do, yes. Enemy health up to 50% with an additional 20% if the enemy is dead. I mean that actually does sound pretty good numerically, a Wilner, but how do I? I'm trying to think here of how we would then. Well, I suppose I could just, because then you have a total of 100%. Yes, it does calculate health for all of them. It does. I can show you exactly how this will work with the custom battle thing. We'll just spawn gates on each team, since those have been exposed already. So see, it has the team health and the ship health. So the health that is going to be used for the calculation of score is going to be the health of the fleet. So where it says like one of the readouts is inaccurate, which readout is inaccurate? Oh, you don't know. Well, that's not helpful. So, but if this is inaccurate, then we can't use it. Which kind of throws a whole bunch of wrenches into my plan. Is it seriously that inaccurate? If it's that inaccurate, then we can't use the custom battle mode. Is the... Oh. Well... If the readout... Oh, but then that readout is what informs... Okay, well now you've got me. Let's go back to setup. We're going to add... We're going to have 3 gates per team. Alright, I want to see this. If this ends up... Because if this thing is inaccurate, then... Why is there only... Are they... Oh. Why are they... Oh. Because I didn't give them any materials. Just for the purposes of this, we're gonna... There. I want to see... And see, there are those unfused shells bouncing off, which... Yeah, I can already tell. That is not right. How does 99.3 and 99.5 equal 9? Well, I guess it would... Let me... Hold on. Since we're done with this, we're gonna... go to game capture so I can... So it's 99.5 plus 99 plus 99.3 divided by 3. Oh, actually it is 99.3. I thought that was wrong. It's close. Oh, right, I need to move the chat thing. There. Let's check. Yeah, okay, so it's fine right now. I kind of like the formations that these ships are fighting in right now. It's kind of neat to see. V does work in the battle mode. Yep, we're having collisions. I didn't spawn them far enough apart. Why do you think chat is red? What? I don't get it. Okay, so... let's put them 500 meters apart. Let's give them some more space to work with. Like, I kind of want to see an example of this not working properly if it does. Oh, team battle? Oh, team percent. So I'm going to have to record the individual HPs of each ship to make sure things are correct. Which means I'm going to have to, like, make some nested if statements on my calculator document to make that work, but it's doable. Oh, that... Right, that is true. That's just more of a reason to enforce a relatively equal cost amongst the ships. Yeah, but it was just a little bump. Because it's either that or, you know, somebody fixes the tournament mod. Because I would do it myself, but I know absolutely nothing about coding. And while I could potentially learn, I certainly wouldn't be able to figure it out before the tournament's supposed to start. We're having some collisions here, but it's not actually slowing the game down, which is nice. Yeah, well, they're unfused. They're just detonating on contact. No. No, Mr. Anderson. Like, it'll still slow the game down, and they will still damage each other. I want to see a turret fall off so we can demonstrate this sub-object not being included thing, but none of the turrets are falling off. There's some that have been disabled, but none of them have been blown off. Because these shells have absolutely horrendous penetration, because they're unfused. Yeah, usually ships just getting close to each other causes the game to slow down. So it was a little strange that those ships actually collided and didn't have any issue. Yes, that's also true. They are much smaller. Oh, there we go. We lost the turret. That turret has been blown completely off. I'm not sure which team that is, but we can do some maths. Yeah, so Team 1's HP is like off by a whole percent. It's 90.96, 90.97 if you want to round, and if you want to round that would be 91%, and it's saying 92.1. Yeah. So I'm going to have to base it off of the ship HPs. And this is just kind of more of a reason for the ships to be forced to be relatively even in material costs if I can't trust the team thing. Because I'm certainly not going to sit there and go and... Yeah, alright, see you later, Ketobor. Ketobor. However you want me to say that. Sorry. Yeah, laters. So yeah, now that rule about them needing to be relatively equal in HP and whatnot, the minimum costs rule just became an absolute necessity. Otherwise, the scoring would be stupidly complicated. Because the team thing doesn't work right. I mean, how long has the custom battle mode been out? And this, it still doesn't work right? Like... I don't get it. I mean, if you want, like, no, that's just too much, OL nerd. Like, having to enter the individual cost for each ship on each side and set the formula up to multiply based on... It's just... I don't want to deal with that. That's too much of a hassle. No, the materials in the ship don't really matter. As far as scoring goes, anyway. But you are going to have to, like... Like, the game is going to spread out the materials... are going to have to be spread out amongst all the ships and everything, you know? So... you'll have to keep that into account. But, yeah, so... yeah, I'll just have to set up the thing to average the ship HPs. And do some nested if statements. To make that work, which I can do that. Well, that's good to know. I wasn't aware that that was an issue. I'm glad we found that out so that I didn't... so that didn't end up completely screwing the pooch in the tournament. And I do like the idea of just saying, okay, you know, that's basically what Delta Force was saying to do before, was to basically just make the 100 to 55% worth X points, and then you get a certain amount of bonus points for actually killing the enemy. Well, the materials on the ship don't count for points at all. Oh, no, no, no. I get what you're saying. Yeah, if I didn't have the minimum cost things so that the ships were relatively even in cost, then yeah, the percentages would not reflect the amount of materials used in each one, and that could cause some issues with scoring and wonkiness. But by making them relatively the same, it's fine. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's pretty much a necessity, because without that, in order to make it work right, I'd have to add a lot of back end to the scoring thing, and I really don't want to deal with that. I'd rather just say the ships have to be within relative, the minimum costs thing. It's much easier. That's true, Delta Force. That is actually true. Uh, why can't things just work? Why does everything in this game have to be stupid? If I did that, I would have to get rid of the 2-weapon system rule. Because I don't want to force people to have to use multiple weapon systems on a single ship. Like, you can do it if you want, but I don't want to force that. Well, I'm not sure what to do with that now. The only way to really make this work would be to either use the tournament mod, which would require somebody to fix it and make it work, because it's currently broken as shit, or we have to make it so that multiple entries, like, if you have multiple entries, they have to be carbon copies of the same ship, except for maybe, like, AI settings. I guess... Yeah, I don't know what would be required to make that work, Delta Force, because I know nothing about it. Yes, the percent is based on block count, Mr. Anderson. The health displayed there is based upon block count. It has nothing to do with the material cost of the ship. Uh, yeah, that is one argument. I could make it so that I could just get rid of the minimum cost thing. Yeah, that's what I was just about to say for I could just get rid of the minimum cost thing and be like, well, if you build a ship that only has, 200 blocks and it gets obliterated by a single cramshell, you just lost a third of your HP, even though you've lost probably less than 10% of the blocks in your fleet. That is a possibility. I would rather, at this point, just use the tournament mod if possible, but I also, you know, I don't know, like, a Nickel was the last one who was updating it, if I remember correctly. I don't know what his schedule looks like, if that's even possible for him to do, you know. So maybe I should just go with that first option because it doesn't require anybody to do extra work. And it gets rid of a rule that people haven't been liking. Quirt is making a new one? Okay. See, that's how out of touch I've been. I didn't even know that. Just because I haven't been paying attention to things outside of, on the outside of, from the depths, on the back end of things because I was stuck on that old version for so friggin' long. I mean, I don't even, like, why did they even add the custom battle mode when it's kind of, like, broken in ways that make it kind of unusable? Like, I mean, I get that developing a game and everything, it's a lot of work. And it's not easy. I don't know exactly how much that this actually takes because I don't know anything about programming. But at the same time, it really feels like a lot of the stuff the devs do is really half-assed. Not gonna lie. Like, not trying to be an asshole to him or anything, but that definitely is what it seems like. From an external perspective. This custom battle mode definitely seems like it. The eternal scapegoat. I mean, like, the whole fuel and ammo change thing, to me, just seems like they're like, oh, well, it'll make the AI function better, and it's like, oh, it's so... It's like, so you're choosing to get rid of the resources that are causing the problem rather than make the AI better. That seems like a decision based in laziness. But, external perspective again. I don't know what's going on internally in the company, so they could have their reasons for it. It just doesn't seem like that change just doesn't seem like a good one to me from the outside looking in. But anyway, okay. Did you? I mean, I can take a look at that. Okay, let me, I had Discord not closed, but shut down. Well, see, the thing is it can't be based on... It can't be based on cost. Because the HP values are based on block count, not cost. But the same theory should apply. I'm doing okay, Titan. Just discovering more wrenches getting thrown in my plans and trying to remove them. As you can see, we've got the custom battle mode going, because we were testing. Apparently, the custom battle mode, the team total health does not take into account sub-objects. So when a turret gets blown off like that, the team total health does not update properly. So, like, if you look at Team 1, if you go and average those three scores together, it's not 92.1%, even though these are the same three of the exact same ship. Certified wrench extractor. I mean, and I guess, yeah. So we're trying to figure out a workaround for that. One idea, and the one that I'm liking the most right now, is the idea of just getting rid of the minimum cost rule and then just ignoring the differences in block counts between the vehicles. So if you have a small vehicle that gets destroyed easily, it's going to cost you a lot of team HP. Because even though it only has like 10% of the blocks in the fleet, it's going to count for 33% of your score. That would be the easiest way to fix this. But it is also possible to just put the block... Oof. Well, I mean, I can see why the boxes do that from a campaign perspective. It just sucks for tournaments. Like, a lot of the changes that they've made recently have just been really kicking tournaments in the balls. Which is unfortunate for me, but I mean, what am I going to do? I don't know enough about programming to go make my own From the Depths with blackjack and hookers. Believe me, if I knew anything about programming, I would probably try to make my own From the Depths, but well, it's not even volume, it needs to be block count. Because that's what the HP numbers on this thing are based off of. And it doesn't... Does it actually say the number of blocks anywhere on here? Oh yeah, blocks 2,900 out of 3,496. Several, Titan. I suppose since I have to keep track of the gatekeeper, it's just another thing I have to keep track on the back end, I guess, and things that I will have to set up for the tournament. Well, no, I'll just have to put that in the. It's doable. It's doable. It's just going to be a pain in the butt. But I guess, yeah, given the fact that smaller. Well, I don't know that multi-ship entries are really penalized that much. But, like, I think given the budget, 3 ships would actually be worse than 2. But I think 2 might be better than 1. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But, yeah, I guess the only... I don't want to deal with it, but I suppose the best answer is just... the best answer is just me to have to deal with it on the back end. Record the block count of each vehicle, and then when I'm I can record it in the same document where I'm keeping their materials usage. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to have to come up with a formula that works off of the block counts. And I'll just have to input those for each ship. That is true, PS. That is true. I mean, one thing I don't understand is, they're like, oh, it's because of sub-objects and how they relate to things and all that. And it's like, it's a pain to fix. And yet the tournament mod does it just fine. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to fix, but they clearly don't care about the custom battle mode much. It's not a high priority, which is unfortunate for us, but I guess we'll have to live with it. I wouldn't say they're screwing it up, but I feel like in their trying to simplify the game, they are taking away what makes From the Depths good. Like, the depth that you get from some of the complexity is kind of what makes the game what it is. However, the main reason they got rid of fuel and ammo is because their AI can't handle it. Like, that's their reasoning for getting rid of the fuel and ammo. It's because the AI in the campaign will function better without it as a resource. And it's like, well, yeah, but meh. And I really dislike how, like, I was talking about, I was like, well, we need a UI element to be able to see how our fuel and ammo, like, conversion rate is doing. And they're like, oh yeah, Nick's making something to do that, to make that easier to understand and see. And I was like, oh cool, that's nice. But then, like, here, let me do this again. And I was like, oh cool, so we'll get something, you know, like how we've got the energy and engine power UI. It's like, no, what he did was just gave a meter on the storage boxes that, as it gets used, like, changes. So you still have to come over here and look at a fuel tank or look at an ammo box. In order to see what your material status is. Which I really don't like. And like Delta Force said, it's also annoying that you can't, like, tell the ship to stop using repair bots at, you know, if it gets too low on materials, so you can end up having your repairs completely eat all of your materials, and then you're out of fuel and ammo. I don't believe so, no. Let's check. Stats, materials per second, 2.92. Then the ammo box, materials per minute. So no, they didn't fix that either. Yet. If they're even going to. Which is kind of a pain. Shit. I'm not going to be able to get out of here. And that's what I mean about things being half-assed. Like, this is really difficult to use simply because of how it's presented to the player. And for a change this big, they really should have, like, thought through that kind of thing before implementing the change. I mean, technically it's still on the beta branch, but still. Yeah, pretty much, Brisby. But I mean, if they, like, this is an obvious issue, you know? Like, this is something that they should have figured out before exposing the players to it. Because it's like, it's obviously going to be something that people complain about, and it's not a difficult thing to see coming. So why would you not just preempt that? Yeah, the element already existed in the UI. They could have just changed how it functioned. How it functions to display your fuel and ammo, like, conversion rate available. Like, this bar that's inside the fuel tank should be right above the engine on the main UI. Yeah, more like engine power, exactly. Like, why is it on the fuel tank? Why do I have to look at a fuel tank to know what my ship is doing? Yeah, it could work exactly like engine power. Like, why did I don't understand why they put the UI here on the box. You shouldn't have to look at the freaking box to figure out what's going on with your ship. Not when you have all these other UI elements, like the power, the battery energy and the engine power available in your material storage and all that. This is not a cluttered AI. It's not that bad. I've seen way worse. But anyway. I just really don't like how I have to look at a fuel box to see how my fuel conversion rate is going, when I can see what my engine power and battery power are doing. Yeah, I know. That's the excuse they gave for it, but it's a bullshit excuse in my opinion. I don't think it's true at all. I mean, one thing that is good... Actually, let's not do that. How do I... There's a button for it. That's the repair tentacles. There's a way to disable avatar giving resources to a ship. There it is. There's the button. So, like... Oh, I'm in mouse build mode. Let's just... For the lulz here, basically. We're gonna build some really big medium missiles. Just so I can demonstrate this thing that I'm talking about. Oh, well, it was still on mirroring, but whatever. Don't need to actually design the missiles to be anything, because what I'm trying to show is the ammunition thing. If your ammunition gets low, like if your conversion rate gets low, there will be a little message that pops. Oh, Jesus. The missiles managed. Impressive. Okay, so apparently these missiles don't drain enough for the amount of ammo I've got on this thing. What do they do? I'm trying to trigger the UI element I'm talking about, but I apparently have too much ammunition on this thing. I don't remember having that much, but... I'm just amused at how these missiles keep hitting my own fortress. Well, I mean, I did, but I didn't really Where did I put my ammunition? Oh, it's right here. Wow, why is that? It's like not even actually affecting them. Because I'm in the designer, I guess. Ugh, anyway, I guess up here in this corner, like when your conversion rate starts getting low, it'll say like, you know, you only have 30% of your conversion rate, add more fuel boxes or whatever. And I mean, that's okay, I guess, but I'd rather be able to proactively see it than have a message pop up that I might not even notice. Because it only stays there for a limited time. Anyway. They do store some materials in them. Like, I think it's for a one block thing, it's 5,000 materials. It's 500 materials, not 5,000. So they do give you some material storage. Which is why we ended up having to change the rules around so much, because, yeah, one block will give enough, it will last 10 minutes, which is kind of why we ended up having to change the rules on the materials thing around, because that, yeah. Yeah, well, the stable version is not what the tournament's going to be run on. The current stable version. As was mentioned before, we should eat our peas and just deal with the fuel and ammunition changes once they come out, because it seems pretty obvious that no matter how much we bitch and moan about it, it's not changing. So, just gotta live with it. But yeah, so these give 500, the 3x3 give 4,500. So, like, they give the same material storage per block. Like, the 3x3 is the same as a single block fuel storage box. In both cost and storage size. Yeah, so I guess I'll just have to set up the formula so that I can input block count manually and then total things up based on their health. Unless, you know, the tournament mod gets updated. Then I just use that because it actually works. One thing I do want to do... See, I've got this old... I forget who it was. Somebody gave me this SO35 Flatland map, which is just a big flat land map. Big surprise, right? And then, yeah, it has errors because it wants certain ships to be loaded in. I mean, sure. If you want, I can do that. And so, but what I was doing, with this was trying to make a, like, lake in the middle here. and it doesn't work very well. Like, I can set this to 2 and maybe set the inner, or, you know, set this to -1 to lower it, and then this to like 1.75 so that it gets everything. And then, like, I click and see it, the game is frozen right now. And then it finally, eventually is like, oh, okay, it's adjusted now. And then click and game is frozen again. And then, for whatever reason, like, say I mess up in the wrong spot and I can't really fix it with the tools that they have, which has happened to me a couple of times already. If I, like, go and, like, okay, well, if I'll just, you know, go to settings, reload the map. So load it in again, it loads it, but it loads in the version I was already working on. I have to, like, completely leave the game to get it to get the map right again. And I tried to do it like this to change it to a different map so I could then load in the other one. Oh, it actually worked this time. The last time I did that, it friggin' crashed the game. So maybe if I load it in now. Okay, that now see that undid the changes I did, so that's nice. So yeah, if you want to send your ship over so I can take a look at it real quick, I can do that. Or you can send it after the stream and I'll take a look at it off stream. That's probably better, honestly. Probably shouldn't take up stream time with that. So yeah, if you send it to me, I'll take a look at it after the stream to see and let you know. Unless you're wanting to actively see, like, the numbers on the screen, then I suppose I could do it real quick. Oh, that was yours. Okay. Okay, yeah, because your name on Discord is not the name. Wait, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Whatever, this should work fine. Actually, with it being the centralized design, yeah, I'm gonna have to. Oh my god. Jesus Christ! Wow, remind me to never load that shit again. This will be fine. But while we're doing this, does anybody else have any other questions or comments, concerns, ideas? Why are these here? Like, these shouldn't be here for that map. I disabled... Oh my god. Whatever. Oh, and we've got the fucked physics again. So... this game can be frustrating at times. And not because of the gameplay, but because it's a buggy piece of junk. From time to time. I mean, I guess yeah, that's because I had to close the game. I'm restarting the game. because the physics were borked. Alright, so let me get your new version here. Extract all. Okay. All right.
Listening.
So you've got storage for 51,000 materials, which is going to be more than you get. Because the cost of this ship is 98,000, so you're going to get 27,000 materials storage, or materials added to your ship. Let's see. See, because, like, okay, so your fuel here, you have 1850 mats extractable as fuel per minute. Okay? Your engines, I'm assuming these are the only two. No, you've got 4 of them. Okay? So this engine uses, at maximum, 6 materials per second. So with 4 of them, that's 24 materials per second that these can possibly use. Which means 1 fuel box. Just 1 little fuel storage box. Oh wait, no, 14 per second. Right. 24 per second. These provide 50 per minute per box, which is also, 0.83 per second. So to get to 24 of those, so 24 divided by 0.83, it's not 8 per second. 8 per second would give you like 480 per minute, not 50. You basically need 29 fuel boxes to cover that. And you have 9, 18, 27. You have 54. Oh, you missed the pier. Oh, okay. So you have about double the fuel extraction that what you need. However, if these get destroyed, that will, reduce your fuel extraction rate. So you've got a bit of redundancy there. That's actually probably a good amount, honestly. You might maybe go like 1 or 2 of these 3x3 boxes less, but then you're risking them getting destroyed, and then you basically run out of fuel. Where are your ammo boxes? Man, wouldn't it be nice if I could just find out what his ammo consumption per minute would be just by looking at the UI instead of having to hunt for his ship for the ammo boxes? Wouldn't that be wonderful? This is not an actual inspection at the moment. No, he just wanted to know where his fuel and ammunition situation was sitting. So you have 3,250 per minute, which is 54 per second. You've got missiles here, which each of them use 0.8 materials per second, and it looks like you have 18 of them. So 18 times 0.8 means those use 14 ammo per second. 14.4 ammo per second total. Wait, did I count that right? Yes, okay. I was thinking that there were 2 rows of them. That's just because the hatch is open. And then we've got this gun, which uses 3.61 materials per second. So you're using 18.1 materials per second, and you have capacity for 54. So you've got a lot more capacity than you have consumption. You could probably get away with reducing that some. But yeah, see, now this is much better, because this thing is sailing nice and straight. Like, as it's sailing, it's not listing. This ship before was listing heavily, so it failed the center of mass check. It passes that now. And it also just, like, lowest point of the deck. It, I mean, it's moving right now, but it basically passes it anyway. But I would need to actually stop it. Uh-oh. Okay. You know what? Just to make things a little bit quicker here, we'll pull it from play, put it back into play. 1, 2, 3. See, while stationary, it is not touching the water from the lowest point of the deck. The max speed is 25 meters per second LCG.
Listening. Moving out.
And I can give this thing an order, and it's going. It's only hitting 23, so it passes that. Rudders are set up properly. Propellers are on the back, not angled any. It has 2 weapon systems. What is the firepower on this gun? Firepower 33.91, so it passes that. Yeah, this ship seems like it would pass inspection. Oh, here's another rudder. It is properly configured though, so... Yeah. It seems like this would indeed pass. What was saying it not connected? Oh, it's got batteries that aren't connected to a... Oh, because it's not connected to an electrical engine. But they're just there for the rail system. Mr. Nucleizer, we're kind of trying to... that's kind of up in the air at this moment, because it was brought to my attention that the team HP display thing does not work right. So if I do use that, I'm going to have to make some formulas on my score calculator thing to accommodate that. I'll have to do it based on the ship's block counts and HP values, because I can't trust the team HP. I would really rather just use the tournament mod, but I don't know if it's gonna when or if it's going to be updated to work with this version. So I wasn't going to put an altitude DQ in because there's no real reason for it in this tournament. I mean, part of the reason it was there in the other tournaments was so that ships that sink but are above 80% HP would, you know, not just continue to exist forever. But I could always just increase the the HP value for sinking to 100%, so the moment your ship starts sinking, it despawns. But that would kind of mess with the scoring. Well, I mean, it would incentivize building to make sure your ship doesn't sink. One of the shift P. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that there was something like that in the shift Ps. I didn't even know shift P was a thing until now. That is true, Mr. Nucleizer. One thing I'm trying to, what I would like to do is get a map that's just a lake, basically, you know. That's the size that we want for the battle, and then just get rid of the range DQ things and just be like, well, if you run away too far, you run aground and then you're screwed. Well, I mean, nobody ever said that this was about destroyers, LCG. I mean, technically it's been called Frigate Fracas, but that's, you know, it's just a name. Yeah, that was kind of the intent, Delta Force, but at the moment I'm trying to get rid of all the things that actually deal with penalty time, so they wouldn't even matter. Like, if I can get a map that works, then we, like, I would just get rid of the penalty time stuff, because you don't need it. That is a point, Nucleizer. That is a point. What do you mean? What, not make a map? Yeah, yeah, like what PS said, the map designer is really unfriendly to use, to put it nicely. No, Lua is never going to be allowed in my tournaments, because that just like if you don't know programming, you lose if Lua is allowed, and that's not fair. Yeah, I only spent like 45 minutes on it, but I was not in that 45 minutes of trying to make a map. I was not able to get anything anywhere near what I wanted. And to the point that it makes it more pushes the favor more toward people who know how to. Yeah, the rules have been posted on the Discord, LCG. They're in the pinned. It's in the pinned messages of the tournament rules discussion thing. But some of them are in flux at the moment. Because I didn't because of things like I, for example, didn't know that the team battle or the custom battle mode doesn't correctly calculate the team HP. That would be a great idea. And I mean, Master Urban Mech, you technically have one more submission remaining, so I've only looked at 2 of your ships, so you can submit one more time and make whatever changes you want. No, there's no teams. I mean, you can do a collaborative build with somebody, but you don't have to. Yes. I mean, the ship that we're looking at right now, Welner, is a submission. So yes. I mean, it's a really bad idea to be submitting right now, but if you want to do it, go for it. It's in the document, LCG. I think it was October 2nd. All right. Well, I'm probably getting close to ending the stream here shortly, but yeah. If people have any other questions, comments, concerns, ideas to get past the issues that we've encountered. Oh, the Shift P thing in build mode. Alright, we can do that on my weapon test platform since I have a ring shield on here.
Listening.
Just to see it. Though I think the ring shield is technically disabled right now, so oh crap.
Listening.
The biggest issue is the fact that the custom battle mode doesn't calculate, I mean ring form, but area, oh, it's not facing the right way. The custom battle mode doesn't, so how do you know which one is which? I don't know what all these different filters are. So I'm actually on the one that's about ring shields. This doesn't make any sense. This is... So this is actually the ring shield thing, but this doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what does... But why is this one black? Why is this nothing? When the rest of this is red. Oh, is it because this is in the same line as this? Ah, that's why. So if I deleted this... Yeah, then it suddenly becomes... Okay. This makes my brain hurt. It'd probably be... Okay. Let's take a look at this at gate real quick, and then I will recap. I should be recapping the issues. Right. So, let me bring the rules up again because that will remind me. I think it's just the fact that the custom battle mode, the team HP meter, does not work right. And, like, I could just take the percentages of the individual ships, but then I have to have the block counts included in the formula, because, you know, they're going to have different block counts if they're not carbon copies of one another. So it's like just trying to figure out how to make that work. I've pretty much decided I just have to, you know, make a Google Doc, you know, a Google sheet that has the formulas, and just be able and have to manually input the block count for each ship for each entry for every battle, which is a pain, but like, I don't know any other good way to get around it. Anyway. So this is... It doesn't include sub-objects, Mr. Nucleizer. Or it at least doesn't include them properly. So if a turret falls off, your team health doesn't update properly. Yeah, easiest way would be to not allow multiple entries. Which, given what everybody's saying about small entries being bad, wouldn't necessarily be a terrible thing, I suppose. Then I would also, if I did that, I would also probably get rid of the multiple weapon system requirement thing, because I don't know. Or maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. It's just annoying that I keep making these plans and then I find out about crap in the game that just doesn't work right and ruins everything. But yeah, this is interesting. So this is pink because it counts as both, you know, an axis from this direction and this direction because it's on the outside of both. And then this one's red because it's just left, right. And this is yellow because it's up, down, and... Or, no, it's just because it's the top. Okay, that's pretty cool. I can see use for that. It's just a little confusing. Yeah. It would be nice if that color coding thing were actually on the screen while you're looking, rather than just forcing you to memorize it, but, you know. Well, fantastic, Oelner. Fantastic. At least that's what we're told, Nucleizer. Yeah. It's rough, and it kind of sucks because, like, there's a lot of potential behind this game. Like, there's so much you could do with it, but it's just... It hasn't lived up to that potential. And it was pretty cool and seemed, at least to me, fairly innovative when it first came out. But then, you know, as time has gone on, other games have come out with similar, if not better, systems, and it just feels like this game has been in development hell for so long that it's kind of fallen behind, and by the time it even gets released, it'll just look, feel, and play like it is very old, because it kind of is. It's still unique. I mean, even the games that do similar things don't do it in the same way, but... Like, I'm not... Don't get me wrong. As much time and effort and whatnot I've put into this game, I obviously like the game. There's just... It has issues. There are things that could be better. Like, let's not try and pretend otherwise. That is the combined firepower of all of that things in that weapon system has to be 15. So you can have 15 firing pieces with 1 firepower each, and that counts. Or you can have 1 that has 15, 5 that have 3, etc. Yeah. A Wellner can math, everybody. Saw it here first. Yeah, that'd be a bit expensive. But thankfully, custom shell simple weapons count as APS, so they can be combined with actual APS guns for firepower usage. You know, like if you end up making a 13 firepower gun, you can just like slap down a couple of custom shell simple weapons and boom, it counts. LCG, I type at 15 or all weapons firepower must equal or exceed 15. I'm not entirely sure what you're asking there. Or if you're even asking anything. If you run missiles and crams, the total for each of them needs to equal or exceed 15. So your cram has to be more than 15, and your missiles have to be more than 15 total. That's probably true, PS. Custom shell simple weapons are not that great. And I kind of liked the idea that the multiple weapon rule promoting a little bit of diversity, like forcing a bit of diversity and you need at least 2 different weapon systems. Yes. Anyway, the 2 weapon system rule was meant to promote some diversity and make entries a little bit more interesting. But honestly, at this point, I'm thinking about removing it and just saying screw it. Because it's not seeming like a very popular rule, and it's a bit complicated, and most of the questions and concerns I'm getting these days are about that rule. And I don't even know that it's actually going to accomplish its purpose. I mean, if you want to go whole hog into a single weapon system and then that weapon system ends up getting countered, you're kind of screwed. So I guess that's just the risk you take. I could also just... I could also get rid of the multiple entries things, call it the cruiser clash. Okay, now that I'm talking about removing it, the people who actually like the rule are coming out for it. Because I was only hearing the people who didn't like it before. I mean, would the rules still be worthwhile keeping if we got rid of multiple entries? I feel like that would be less nice, but it could still work. It is frequently the case, yes, so Elner. Nah, I think I'm gonna leave it as it is. With 3 potential entries. I might get rid of the minimum cost, though. Because it is just making things a bit... I don't know. Talking about the multiple weapon rule PS? Okay. That is a good point. How so, Delta Force? Can you expand on that? Because I'm not one who usually gets completely set totally in my decisions. Like, I can be convinced. Well, even missiles can avoid being hard countered by using remote guidance. But that does make the missiles more expensive. Well, now I'm starting to think that maybe I shouldn't do it in the lake because of the imbalance that it gives between people who are good at breadboarding and AI and those who aren't. But I mean, that at least is part of a skill in the game, unlike Lua. But then we have to have DQ time, which people aren't... Well, there was only really the one person who was railing against it, Dancing Queen, I think, who was like, I really don't like... Mm. What I would be willing to do for the DQ time, because I know that that's been a moment of contention, or not a moment of contention, a point of contention, because people do make good points about, like, say, a single ship runs off and gets a bunch of DQ time. And then that ends up killing your entire fleet because one ship fucked up. That's not exactly fair. So maybe I should put a cap on the reduction that a single vehicle can give. And I could also be convinced to reduce it from a point per second to half a point per second. The DQ problem does mainly come from multi-ship entries. Yeah, single ship entries, it doesn't really, like, the DQ issues kind of vanish at that point. It's measured, I believe it's measured per craft in the custom battle thing. I don't know about, in the Tourney mod. Yeah, I could just cap the amount of DQ that a ship can give. But let's see. No, not that. Teams. Team 1, we'll add a gate. Team 2, add a gate. And then we're just going to make the rules. The maximum altitude is negative 263. So they're going to immediately, obviously immediately start DQing. And we'll see how this looks. Yeah, see, it displays it on a per ship basis. And they exploded because they reached the DQ limit. So what I could do is yeah. What I could do is just say okay, so per force I could say, like, you know, just give it 60, or if I reduce it to 0.5 per seconds, you know, make it 30, so the ship dies if it's out of range for a minute, like usual. No, because now I'm thinking, like, if doing this, then I would want to get rid of the point reduction, because if your ship blows up, you're already losing, you know, losing a good chunk of your HP, most likely. To then further reduce your score because of the penalty time is kind of double whammy. So I would probably want to make this like 305 or something, you know, more than you can possibly get. Yes, but the goal of this is, what I don't want to see is, in previous tournaments, there have been ships that skirt the edge of the maximum range, and they'll sometimes slip out of it and then slip back in and then slip out of it, and they end up getting like 15-20 seconds of DQ time, and they don't get penalized for that. Because it was binary. It's like you either hit 60 seconds and was disqualified, or nothing happens. And I want to make sitting close to the edge a risky endeavor. Oh, that's not a bad idea. Reduce each individual ship's final HP by its DQ time, and just not have them explode. Or just set it to 100 so that it explodes when it would have 0 anyway. So in this case, that would actually be 50 if I did it at half a point per second. Yeah, but then see, the thing with having it 1 per second also causes issues with multi-ship entries. Like if two ships move away from if two ships are fighting each other and they move away from the main group, and then one ship gets destroyed and despawns, and that other ship is now facing away from the main battle, it's going to get DQ time because it won the fight, which is kind of meh. That's true. If it's based on per force, like if it's only that ship that gets reduced rather than your total score, it is less impactful. Because it's only affecting that one ship rather than your entire force. Well, your entire team, if I use the correct terminology. If it's set to 1 PS, correct? That's what you mean? If it was 1 per second. Well, a single ship... Yeah. Well, a single ship facing multiple ships should never really run into that issue. In theory. I mean, I agree with you, Kedabor. It's just deciding how much we want that scaling to be, like, per second. Basically. Like, the number of points. I mean, in theory, if you're doing, like, a 1v3, and you're chasing one ship, the other two ships should be, you know, close to you while you're fighting that one ship. So if you kill that one ship, then you shouldn't be out of range of the other two. In theory. But I suppose it's possible you could end up disabling the propulsion on on 2 of the 3 opponents, chase down the third one, kill it, and then you get screwed by DQ because the enemy couldn't follow you. Not really, Kedobor. We don't have... we don't really have all that much. Like, I could... Let's get rid of that. Well, I could... Well, I guess I could go ahead and make each team just... I'll make it 2 gates and a keeper for both teams. Or maybe I'll do 2 keepers on this team. Oh, well, yeah, we'll do it like that, sure, whatever. And we'll just give them their full materials, it's fine. They spawn 1,500 meters apart. So we've got only the maximum distance. Okay, so we'll use this. This isn't going to be a great example because, like, these ships don't do the greatest. Because the crams on these are unfused. So they kind of detonate on impact. Well, that one actually seemed to penetrate before it detonated. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I suppose I could do that. Because Steam is already kind of bad because of how expensive it is. I guess penalizing it more wouldn't be ideal. And see how these two are kind of going off on their own? This is kind of the exact situation that we're talking about. Oh, one of them is getting DQ points. Why is... I don't see any that should be. Unless it was this one. I think it was this one. And it just got turned around. Yeah, probably. Oh, and it's getting more DQ time now. Yeah, see, those ships ran away from it, and because it was facing the other way, it got smacked with DQ points. Yeah, they really aren't. It just so happened that the way the ships maneuvered, at least for the second one, yeah. I kind of agree with PS on that one. It just, the timing of when it decided to turn and when its enemies decided to move into a different area kind of screwed it. And losing 32% of its HP would be kind of rough for that. I mean, I think it should be penalized, yes. But I think the degree of penalty that it's receiving right now is a bit too severe. So I'm thinking maybe the 0.5 per second is a better number. Because 16% seems fair. Because it was kind of far out, and it was not really engaging. But it would have been fine if its opponents hadn't decided to run directly away from it. While it was going the other way. So I think half a point per second. Yeah, they're 5 minutes, so this fight would technically be over already. But the rounds are going to be 5 minutes. Oh, something died. Oh, that's potentially an issue. Because it just says DQ on the one that's dead. So if it dies, does its DQ points get... Well, I guess if it's dead, it's counting for 0 points, so it doesn't really matter what its DQ percentage is at that point. Yeah, exactly. So if it's dead, it doesn't matter what its DQ was, because because making it affect only the certain ship does reduce the impact a bit. Yeah. So that's fine. Though amusingly, this ship is actually picking up the materials of its dead brethren right now. Yeah, I agree, PS. But it is something that can be built around. And one of the easiest answers is don't hang out at 1,500 meters. Make your ship want to stay more at like 1,200, 1,100, 1,000. And then it won't happen as much. No. A Wellner. The system I'm thinking about using here is have the DQ time reduce the effective health of the vessel at the end of the battle. So if its health is 0, it doesn't matter what its DQ time was because it's already dead. Because 0 reduced by 50 is still 50% is still 0. Making the DQ time be on a per ship basis rather than applying to the entire team. Oh. Yes, dead means when they die, when they despawn, it says DQ. Even if they just died from being too damaged. Well, that keeper just exploded because of DQ. I'm pretty sure that didn't actually get killed, but so yeah, I think yeah, it is quite a bit. But they did kind of put themselves in that position. And, I mean, yeah, it wasn't entirely their fault that the enemy ran away, but it is... speed is probably not going to be in at all. Well, I don't know, because there was a point made that if things get exploded and launched by an explosion, they could earn DQ points from being launched around. But at the same time, we didn't really see anything get launched around in this fight. Things are probably going to be too heavy for that to be an issue. And yes, I agree, Wellner. I feel like the penalty is a bit too severe. Which is why I'm thinking 0.5 per second is better now, rather than a full point. But, so, like, if those things lost 5% and 10.5% of their HP because of their DQ time, that seems a bit more fair considering the circumstances than 10 and 21%. I'm thinking about, like, the speed thing. I don't think that should... I mean, PS does have a point. It would just be an engineering concern to design around. But, plus, like, if your ship gets an ammunition store and that detonates and launches a ship to the side, and all of a sudden it's over 25 meters per second, like, why does it get DQ time because it got ammo racked? You know, that's not very fair. I'll just make sure in the inspection process that they don't go faster than 25 meters per second. And then we don't need a speed DQ. I mean, true. But, like, we have an alternative way to just make sure that that, you know, is a thing. Like, the inspection... Like, we're going to have to check the speed in the inspection process anyway. Because I don't want to let a ship in that constantly does 26 meters per second and would just get itself DQ'd in, you know, in every match anyway. So, there's no real need for a speed DQ. Ugh. So yeah, I think 0.5 points per second is fair. It seems fair, because a full point per second, it does seem like it's a bit much. And yeah, these are configured to stay at 1500 meters and don't have the proper AI to make sure that they don't get the DQ things. So it is possible to build around. But in the case that something happens that is outside your control, like say you're fighting an enemy way off in the distance and you're moving away from the other enemies when you kill it and it despawns and now you gain DQ time, like getting like 20 seconds of DQ time for that would be really unfair. 10 seconds is still not very fair, but it's you know, we can't make every single possible thing perfectly fair, unfortunately. Like, the best I can do is kind of cater to the general case scenario. And okay, Wellner. Well, I mean, just having you guys around at all is nice. I appreciate it. You know, it helps out. Because, like, you know, there are people who have been streaming a lot longer than I have who can't... Like, I know a guy who has been streaming for years, and he hasn't been able to make affiliate yet. You know, because he just doesn't have the audience. So, like, you guys coming around and helping me out, helping me get to affiliate in 2 weeks is really awesome, and I appreciate it. That is true. Like, that's part of the reason why I thought I might be able to, like, I could actually be potentially successful with this, because I already have an audience. They were just on a different platform, and I figured you know, some of them would come over at the very least. And I'm hoping that once I start doing actual tournament stuff, even more will come over, you know? But we'll see what happens. Yeah, especially from Discord. There's a lot of people on the Discord, really. A lot of different things. My fiance and I have started playing Wasteland 3 since it came out the other day. I've played Final Fantasy 14. I used to play a lot of Bethesda RPGs, but that company's kind of dead to me now. Like, I really liked Oblivion. I honestly didn't like Skyrim as much as I liked Oblivion, but, you know, that's my personal and rather unpopular opinion. I do a lot of different tabletop games with my friends on Tabletop Simulator. I play Civ 6. That is something I play. I have managed to get a couple of wins against the Deity AI, but it's not consistent. It's really... Deity is unfair as shit. You know, I've also played, you know, like PUBG. I've tried Hyperscape a couple times. I used to play Fortnite, but I kind of fell out of that. Didn't like it. Didn't like what it became, really. You know, like my Steam library is expansive. Yeah. I think it's Immortal is below Deity. On Immortal or up, you basically just have to keep restarting until you get a good start. Oh, yeah. That's rough. I've been wanting to try the Red Death mode on Civ 6. I also play Star Sector, which I showed on one stream. I've played Hunt. Yeah, I mean that's a good thing, Titan. Like, it's always good to expand. Like, there are many people, myself included, who have gotten significantly better at this game by participating in tournaments. It really forces you to figure things out. I mean, have you gotten better at the game, PS? Then technically it does apply to you. Oh yeah, like I am kind of glad that I don't have a copy of the blueprint for my entry to the season 1 of Battleship Brawl. It's yeah. I am ashamed of that thing. Even though it ended up winning the tournament, I'm still ashamed of it. My Season 2 entry was a lot better. Season 3 keeps going better. I know I've definitely gotten better. Like, I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on crams now. Like even 3D Tetrising crams, I feel like I can do it pretty well now. APS I'm still really weak at, which is part of the reason why I'm going to be spending the stream tomorrow playing with them. Getting worse at CSGO. Yeah, I don't have that. I've never been good at that kind of game. And yes, and this with Aphantasia, yes. Yeah, the Battleship was a really good ship. Like, it beat Tillman. I honestly thought Tillman was going to be able to beat the Battleship just through sheer weight of firepower, but the Battleship tanked it well enough, except for the first round. I was impressed. The Battleship was a really good ship. There's the APS pointers, yeah, I'll need them. Indeed, Master Urban Mech. I loved that sheep. That thing was awesome. Towing around a battleship through a battlefield. Got blown up a couple times. It was amusing. Okay, I cannot take this background music anymore. I'm turning it off. But yeah, tomorrow gonna be playing around with some APS to try and get things figured out. Because I've got a little bit of an idea on missiles because of my adventure run playthrough. Just been listening to the past 5 years. It hasn't been that long. Those particular songs were new to season 5, if I remember right. Well, perhaps we will discover things together tomorrow, Titan. Because I have the same issues. There's so much math involved with APS. That's kind of why I kind of like crams better. But anyway, I haven't done anything that isn't a square without any clips. I mean, I've done more than that, but I don't know if they were actually good or anything. But anyway, I think that'll be it for today. I need to feed the animals and get to work on dinner and whatnot. So it was an eventful stream. I feel like we've ironed out a lot of the remaining issues. I have heard plenty of arguments for removing the minimum cost and no arguments for keeping it other than my own. I can post the gate and keeper that were used in this fight. I can post those blueprints, yeah. I'll do that right now before we end the stream. Because that will take me like 2 seconds. So yeah, I'm gonna remove the minimum cost rule. I've decided I'm gonna remove it. Just I don't think it's actually going to achieve what I want it to achieve. It's just it's restricting people what they can build and how they can build things without actually accomplishing anything of worth. Let's put it that way. So here we go. Gate and keeper added to the blueprint repository on Discord. those will probably be like the only things I give for you. Um, Depending on how many iterations the gatekeeper goes through. Because, like I said, this is the very, very, very first draft of it. So, and I know that Nutter Chap was going to make changes. So, we'll see how things go. And just don't look at these and be like, okay, this is what I need to beat to get in the tournament, because they're going to be very different from what I just posted. I wouldn't have given them to you if they were going to be exactly the same. But they are a good test bed for, like target practice, basically. So feel free to use those. All right. So yeah, thanks for showing up, everybody. Thanks for watching. It's been fun hanging out. Yeah, moving targets. Yeah, sure. If you want to supply things a well nerd, just let me know. You can send it to me and then I'll add it to the repository. But for tonight, yeah, good night. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I hope the